So while President Trump and Joe Biden are making their final pitches to voters, so are crucial Senate candidates, with the balance of the chamber at stake in tomorrow's election. Republicans hold a 53-47 majority in the Senate, and they're defending nearly half of the seats up for re-election. Democrats have poured a record amount of money in some of the key races, including in the South, where they see a path to helping regain control of the Senate for the first time in 6 years. Nancy Cordes is following all of the tightly contested races and joins us now. So Nancy, I'm really glad that you are joining us, because we talk a lot about the presidential election, but man, a lot could change after tomorrow when we look at Congress. Tell us about the races that we should be keeping a close eye on.
Right, and it's really related to the presidential race for a few reasons. First of all, whoever wins, Anne Marie, obviously is not going to be able to enact most of his agenda if his party doesn't also control the Senate. And what we're seeing across the board is that the president's fate is really tied to the fate of a lot of Republican senators. So in places where he's trailing, those Republicans are too. That's one of the reasons that Democrats are optimistic. And because they only need to pick up 3 or 4 seats to win back control of the Senate, Democrats really feel that they've got a lot of places where they can make that happen. The first tier, if you will, the Republicans who are most vulnerable, probably North Carolina, Tom Tillis, who has been running behind even the president in polls there. He's down to Cal Cunningham, the Democratic challenger. Maine, a veteran senator, Susan Collins, one of the most senior Republicans in the Senate. She's trailing behind Sarah Gideon, the Democrat there. And then out west, Colorado, Cory Gardner, really struggling against a very well-known former governor in that state, John Hickenlooper. And then finally, Arizona, Martha McSally, the Republican who was appointed to her seat a couple of years ago after John McCain passed away. She's locked in a very tough race against really the Democrats' rock star recruit this cycle, Mark Kelly, the former astronaut. So if Democrats are just victorious in those 3 states and Vice President Biden wins the presidency, that's the ball game for them. They could take control of the Senate. Where things get more difficult for them is, number one, if President Trump wins, because then the vice president casts the tie-breaking vote. That's Vice President Pence. So Democrats would need 1 more seat. They need to control the Senate 51-49 in that scenario. And then, they're defending a couple of seats as well. They have they're very nervous at this point about Doug Jones in Alabama. He won that special election. It was really a fluke. This is a deep red state that President Trump won by nearly 30 points. They're very worried about Jones's chances this time around against a popular former Auburn football coach, Tommy Tuberville. And they've got to protect a seat in Michigan that's currently held by Gary Peters. But in general, if you look at our 13 battleground races, these are the races we consider most competitive, 11 of those seats are currently held by Republicans. So that really gives you a sense of all the territory that Republicans are having to defend right now.
There are a couple of sort of higher profile races too, like Lindsey Graham. He's still polling, I think, a little bit higher than or better than his competitor, but I think this is the first time in probably his entire political career where things have actually been competitive for him.
This is a race that ordinarily would not be a toss-up. This is South Carolina, a state where Lindsey Graham won by 17 points just 6 years ago. And now he's locked in this very tough fight with Jamie Harrison, a 44-year-old African-American lawyer who has raised more money than any Senate candidate anywhere this cycle. It's really remarkable that a Democrat in South Carolina is outraising everyone else. And it just shows you how fired up Democratic voters are. They have been sending him so much money from all across the country, not just in South Carolina, that he can't spend it all. Democratic operatives are urging people to send their money somewhere else. So yes, at the end of the day, even if Lindsey Graham is victorious, he's had to fight a lot harder than anyone expected to hold on to that seat and win a 4th term.
Senate Majority Leader Mitch McConnell also facing some competition. He said that he thought it was sort of a 50-50 toss-up whether or not the GOP could maintain control of the Senate. That's what he's saying, publicly. What are you hearing sort of in the halls of Capitol Hill? What are lawmakers saying behind the scenes?
What lawmakers say to us is that they do believe that Democrats have at least a 50-50 chance of winning back control of the Senate, assuming that all ballots are able, that people don't have trouble voting, and that all the ballots are counted. But here's something that they also predict, Anne Marie, is that they don't think that we will know the final balance of power in the Senate. We won't know those final numbers on Election Day or even the days after Election Day, and that's because there are 2 Senate races in Georgia that are likely to go to runoffs, because the rules in that state are that if no candidate gets to 50%, then it goes to a runoff. And just by chance, there are 2 Senate races, not just one, in Georgia this year. And so if we get into that scenario, and these are both toss-up races, very, very close right now, those runoffs aren't held until January, believe it or not. And so as one Republican operative put it, we're all going to be spending the holidays in Buckhead this year.
Definitely. Really quickly before I let you go, the House, will Democrats likely maintain control?
Yes, it is expected that Democrats will maintain control of the House after winning 41 seats 2 years ago. Republicans would have to win back 17 seats in order to win back control. No one anticipates that they'll do that. In fact, Democrats are hoping that they actually can pick off a number of suburban seats in more conservative cities that supported President Trump 2 years ago, 4 years ago, but that have been moving in their direction. And so Democrats are hoping that at the end of the night, they'll actually be up 5 to 15 seats beyond where they are now.
All right, Nancy Cordes, thank you so much.
You're welcome.